Hello and welcome to Everything's Fine, probably your weekly antidote to bad news. I'm Jim. As ever, I'm joined by Shelley. As is becoming increasingly frequent, I'm not joined by Stu, but he assures me he'll be back next week. But we are joined by a very special guest this week, Dan Gainsford from Way of the Viking. Dan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
So the reason we've asked Dan along is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's Men's Mental Health Week. So a good news opportunity.
It's the week that men are allowed to be mental.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's quite right. Dan, can you help us out on this one?
I don't think that's the official take on it, but
we'll take it. I will re-Google it.
So, Dan, tell us about it. So you run Way of the Viking.
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Basically, Way of the Viking is a load of men dressing up. No, it's not. We're not dressing up as Vikings. We basically have a program where we've got a group of guys. It started as a few guys, built on the back of my experiences. I've spent many years in Scandinavia, and I kind of love that way of life. My wife's Swedish, and it kind of loved a lot of the philosophy over there, being out in nature. And my Christmas days tends to be me with my wife's brothers and friends, all naked in a sauna, jumping in a frozen lake. So it kind of, I wanted to bring that to the UK to some extent.
That sounds so Christmassy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's lovely. The nakedness.
Yeah, the naked.
I knew there was something missing from my Christmas. It's naked men in saunas.
Yeah. As much as I love my family, no.
That is one of the verses of the 12 Days of Christmas, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, they could be.
No, I mean, so what actually is Way of the Viking? What's it all about?
So Way of the Viking is a men's mental fitness program. So from a more serious perspective, it started on the back of loss of some great friends, and through suicide, through mental health related illness, mental health related issues, and also physical issues as well. Men are just going too soon, basically too early, and I believe unnecessarily. And I was speaking to lots of different men. I coach and do all sorts of different avenues, and lots of the guys I was speaking to, the same sort of things were coming out. They'd lost a lot of their identity, lost a lot of their sense of purpose. They'd lost that. A lot of them had stopped playing sport and things like that, and lost that sort of comradeship of being part of a group of men as much as anything. So I sort of felt something needed to be done, and so I tried to roll everything into one. It's quite a big lot to sort of put into a sentence, but everything, all of my experiences over all of the years, all into one sort of package, and created this program which kind of works on everyone's daily habits, their habits, and creating behavioural change. And but at the same time, we meet, we do exercise, we go hiking, we do challenges, we go in the sea all the way through the year. We have saunas, and we do all that sort of stuff as well. And we also have what we call campfire chats, because the kind of hidden reason for the whole program really is to get men to talk a bit more openly and create a bit of a culture change where it becomes normal for men to talk about things, get things off their chest before it becomes an issue. It's a bit of a preventative program.
Yeah, so it's like really sort of kind of active group therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
But also a bit like kind of taking you back to like being in Scouts and
yeah, absolutely
as well. It sounds nice.
Yeah.
It does, especially like campfire chats and things.
Yeah, well the campfire, I should clarify that, because everyone, it's actually, we do it via Zoom because everyone's coming from different places. It's more to keep the theme than actually around campfires. So we do it via Zoom. Everyone comes from different places, and we have different themes for the chats, and just get an opportunity to kind of go through our weeks and what's been going on, and have a chance just to get things off the chest. And there's lots of laughs, lots of banter, but it's also a bit of a safe space for anyone that wants to talk about anything that's a bit more depth to it, or anything that's a bit more challenging.
Things men wouldn't normally talk about, I guess.
Absolutely,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, just down the pub with their friends and things. Just
yeah. Exactly. It just goes that next level, basically. So it's kind of the opportunity for a bit of a safe space. But in the meantime, we kind of have it around that whole manly ethos of challenge and adventure, and which why the Viking kind of comes into it, and lots of laugh and taking a mick out of each other and general sort of bloke stuff as well. So it's kind of just a safe space, but at the same time getting that sort of comradeship and being part of a challenging team together, basically.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic. And you said it's run virtually.
No, so the in-person session, so the gym and the hikes and the saunas, that's all in person. It's just the campfire chats are done online via Zoom, and we have an app where people have daily habits. For every day, there's kind of a daily habit task that there's a little bit of a competition around it to see how many you can get done. But they're all things that are beneficial for your mental health, your physical health, and your emotional health and everything else as well. But it's just kind of very simple tasks that we all kind of know we should be doing or could be doing, but it's having that accountability to do a lot of it, basically. And
what sort of tasks are those, Dan?
so we have basic things like your 10,000 steps and that sort of stuff. But then we also have like every day we have a gratitude. Everyone has to post a gratitude list to our group chat, and which is one of my favourite bits of the whole thing, really, because you wake up every day and you just see 30 odd guys, different things that they're grateful for every day, and it starts your day. I mean, this is really apt for your podcast trying to bring good news to people rather than watching the mainstream news and kind of getting depressed before you go to work. It's kind of, we wake up and we have 30 odd guys saying what they're grateful for every day, and it kind of gives you a positive spin on what's going on in the world and locally and in everyone's lives.
I guess it's changes your focus. Sorry, I'm very good at interrupting. Jim has to edit me out, and then he can't because I've actually spoken over him, and it really ruins things. So,
literally special skill. We've all got something we bring.
Yeah, it is the skill that I bring to the table here. So I can't now. What was I going to ask? Oh, yeah. So I got excited because actually what you just described about, like the gratitude thing, it was actually something my therapist used to do about, finding things to be thankful for. And it wasn't like, the kind of, because I think people have to be careful because sometimes that can go down the toxic positivity route sometimes, but it wasn't with her. It was just kind of like finding a new angle in a way where it's like, but so we're going to do this exercise, but before we do it, just list some of the things you're thankful for. So she wasn't saying it like holding, oh yeah, but this might be bad, but at least you've got this, because that's when it becomes like but it doesn't matter because you should be more grateful.
Absolutely.
So you would end up you actually then do sit and you think about the things that matter to you, and then I would just sort of suddenly realize about how many really good friends I've got, and then also just things about yourself as well, that things that what your strengths are, and those are things that you don't normally think about.
No, absolutely. One of the most, we have different variations on the gratitude. One of the things we go through the week, we ask the guys to pick a person that they're grateful for, and send it to them if they're comfortable to do that. So, which is one of the things, you kind of get you forget how many good people you've got around you sometimes, and how much we all have, and how fortunate we are in that way. So just little things that kind of just frame shift things a little bit and remind you what you do have, all the good stuff that is around you. So that's a really positive part of the program, really.
It's brave to send it to someone else as well.
It is, but the power of it is huge. I mean, for some of the guys that have done it, it's kind of the outcome, things that they haven't said to someone all their life, or something that they've wanted to say, and then just to saying that, it creates a conversation with, particularly with other men who are who might not feel comfortable. It creates a conversation that they would never have gone to before, and it's kind of, and they all feel their relationship's much closer, and it's a whole different level as a result. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give, I think, but it's a brave thing to do, because you're putting yourself out there basically a little bit.
Yeah, especially when you think about how mean we are to our families and friends, like we do it in like an affectionate way,
absolutely.
we just make fun of our friends and family. Well, I know I do. I'm pretty horrible. But then when you suddenly come out and actually say, but you do realize how much I love you, and then they're all like, are you okay?
That's normally the first response. Is everything all right?
Because we had a friend who went through therapy, and then suddenly he'd spend lots of time just out of the blue telling us how much he loved us, and your initial reaction is, oh my God, I think he's having a breakdown.
No, he's had a breakthrough.
That's it. That's the right one.
Actually, completely the opposite. He's trying to avoid having one. Certainly, yeah, if it's not part of that normal conversation, initially it can feel very strange, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and also we have lots of sort of mindset models and different things that we work through to clarify people's values, purpose, all these sorts of things. It's kind of just get some clarity on where they want to go and what's good about life and everything else, and kind of it just gives you a bit of sense of purpose and a bit of reflection time, and yeah, it tends to be really positive, gives really positive outcomes. So
Yeah, fantastic. So obviously, we know you're not putting on your helmets and your furs and jumping
only
around.
sometimes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what you do in your spare times entirely, and we will not judge you. But I like the idea of lots of hairy men running around. You're around Hove, aren't you?
Yeah, it's sort of near the Worthing way. Yeah.
Yeah. All dressed as Vikings. But so you've highlighted a few things. But what sort of Viking things do you do?
Well, going in the sea, obviously, every weekend is part of it. Just that sort of cold therapy, obviously the saunas. But then we have just various challenges. So we get put into different tribes as well. So we get different tribe names and stuff like that. So we've got
Okay.
Tribe Ragnar and all different things like that as well.
And what does the tribe element help with? How does that support it?
So when we split the guys into different teams at different points, so they kind of represent their tribe, and then we have various challenges around that. So sometimes it's based on just their task completion for a week. So in terms of a percentage of that, how many tasks they get done overall as an average, who gets the most done as a tribe. Sometimes it's based on who gets the most steps in a week, who does the most press ups in a week. There's some different nutritional ones, it's just who can not eat the most. That might not be the best thing.
I think I could really help there.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I would like a challenge where you have to find the food that's got the most red traffic lights on it on the packaging.
You can win that. That'd be a popular one, I reckon.
I am around to feeling a little bit sick today because I ate too many squashies before I came on.
Oh no, I was thinking you didn't try out those freeze-dried sweets.
I'm never touching freeze-dried sweets again. I don't know if you've tried those down, but then particularly the flumps. Sorry, we don't. I'm taking you down digression. So yes, the tribes and the different challenges. Do you find being part of a tribe is important?
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's what a lot of the guys said they've missed. They played sport, and then when they've hit an age where they've stopped playing sport and other things have dominated work, family, etc., they've kind of lost that thing that was a big part of them for lots of their adult life and childhood as well. And so that's a huge part of it, to sort of belong to something. But also got guys who have never been part of a team sport, and they also said that for them it's because of that they've always wanted to be, but just maybe didn't quite have the natural footballing talent or whatever else it might be, never got into that sort of way of things. So for them it's really good to be part of a team as well, and it kind of gives that extra level of accountability to kind of get the guys to do the things that we know are good for them, but sometimes it's easier not to do, basically. So we all have this feeling.
So is it sort of quite easy for like men from sort of any age group or any level of health to join then?
It's kind of built on commitment rather than levels of fitness. And when we go out, there are some guys that are very very fit, and there's some guys who are literally haven't done anything for years, but we kind of amalgamate. So when we go out on our big hikes, the guys that are at the fitter end of it will tend to carry weight or do things like that. So we kind of tend to be at a similar sort of level by the time they've got the extra weight and stuff and going up hills from other guys who are just starting out. So we have the opportunity to kind of walk and talk and have that, because that's a big part of it as well. That the hikes, it's a good opportunity to talk and have discussions with different people, but like-minded people, and hear different points of view. So yeah.
Do you think it's sort of opened it out doing something like that? Like it's kind of opened it out for groups of people that wouldn't normally try to access help?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of part of why it's way of the Viking, all the kind of the fun element of it, and the play and the focus on the fitness, the physical fitness side of it as well. It's because we're all, whoever we are, we can benefit from working on our mental fitness. Wherever we are, whatever stage we're at, we all have. There's a level of fitness. You can't just get to a level and be like, right, I'm done now. We have to work at it. I have to work at it every day. every single day.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of keep putting the reps in, and that's kind
Yeah.
of what we talk about. And so this is just an opportunity to get people in a way that doesn't feel too clinical. It's not medical. We're just a load of blokes with beards at the moment, but a load
Yeah.
of blokes
If you like beards and
yeah,
you like being outside, it's
yeah,
great.
exactly.
Yeah, I suppose that sort of leads to one of the questions I sort of prepared actually, because I just thought, do you notice like actually people from different social or ethnic backgrounds, like that can change their attitudes towards seeking help? And do you find that you do see a difference with the amount of people who will come forward?
Yeah, most of our guys run an area that tends to be white European. It's just kind of the general bulk of where we are. So most of the guys are from that background. But it would be, I think it would work for anyone. And I know, you know,
Yeah.
through the research, it's a case where and there's lots of other good men's groups from all different ethnic groups that kind of work together well. There's a group in Brighton called Men of Melanin by friend of ours, Bud Johnson, which is a really really good group for men of colour to go and get together and seek support with each other as well.
Oh,
But
that's good to know. Men of
Men of
Melanin.
Melanin, yeah, it's a really cool
Yeah.
group. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all different good. It'd be open to everyone, and we've got different age ranges, etc. So this is the first time when we started. It's primarily uh, kind of from 35 to sort of 55-ish, but now we've got some guys who are nearly 60 and guys who are in their 20s joining that, who recently joined up, which is great. I really think I'm really pleased to have the younger guys in there because I think if I was that age, I would love to have had the opportunity to learn from all these older guys, other people's experiences, and to just have the opportunity to start learning about my own emotional intelligence and having the opportunity to think about goals and purpose, and which I just never, I don't know how you were, but me at that age was just kind of living day to day and by the skin of my pants basically and
Oh, I
seeing
was
what
such an idiot. No, I mean,
happened.
I really don't know how I made it to where I am in life, but it's because I work with lots of young people now, and some
Oh,
of them
right.
have really, really they've really got their lives together. And because I look after people with like chronic illness as well, and these
Right.
people who are living with, but they're just so on top of everything and so organized and just so grown up. And I just sort of think, how are you doing that? Honestly, I could not, just did not have the emotional maturity like that some of them have. And yeah, some of them be like 17, 18 years old and they've got a plan, they've got a job, they're getting education. I just think, everything just sort of fell together in the end. By the
Yeah.
time I was in my late 20s, it just
Yeah.
suddenly
Yeah.
sort of, oh, I seem to be all right now. I don't really know how I got it.
A plan has never been part of my life. Even now, it's I'm still winging it.
Yeah, same really.
I mean, just about seems to be working, but
Yeah, yeah.
do you find, Dan, that the attitude of the different generations you've got there in terms of opening up and talking about feelings and health, mental health and so on, is that different between the 60-year-olds and say the 20-year-olds?
uh I'd say yes. It's difficult. It depends what their experiences, I think, in terms of where they've come from and what their background is coming into it. Guys that have come into it completely, you can tell guys that have come in and have had some sort of therapy or counselling previously. They're much more receptive to talking straight away, and you can see the guys that have never had anything like that at all. And it's a bit at first you can tell, so it's kind of trying to gently allow that. But after a while, everyone soon realizes it's a really safe space, and everyone can talk about anything. Um, so yeah, I'd say it's quite individual actually. I expected, like I guess like you would say in answer to asking a question, I'd expect there to be that generation or that older generation being much more stiff upper lip and kind of not wanting to
Yeah,
talk too much
that's
about it.
what I would in my head. I suppose that's where I go. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's certainly what I would expect. And maybe if we had more guys from, I guess when you join the program, there's an element of that to it. So we might be a little bit biased towards people who are more open from that generation, I'd say, and people who want to learn about themselves and who are kind of keen to understand and just see themselves and a way that they can progress themselves. So they're quite happy to learn and see what happens. And so yeah, I haven't seen a massive division within the group. But like you, that's what I would expect generally in terms of how I normally speak to general public. I would expect that difference, absolutely.
Yes, interesting. Possibly more to do with background than with generations.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you alluded to some of this when you started talking about Way of the Viking, but it would just talk about men's mental health in general. I mean, why is it so important for us to have discussions about men's mental health specifically?
Well, I think the statistics speak for themselves and around suicide and everything. I mean, it's the biggest killer of men under 45, maybe even 50 now. I think it's creeping up. So it's, that in itself is, as a statistic, it blows my mind every time I say it. Really, it's a shocking statistic to think that's the thing that's killing more men than anything else in terms of in this country and largely around the world. And the differentiate between female to male on that side, whilst female statistics are also creeping up, very sadly, there's a huge differentiate between male and female. So, kind of 3/4 male. So that's something immediately for me that suggests there's an area absolutely for improvement and for something we should be looking at and thinking, well, what can be done here? Because we're obviously doing something wrong, because that shouldn't be the case. This isn't an illness where everyone's it's not a contagion that's going around. It is a contagion, but not in the way that there's a gene or anything for it. It's something that we're doing culturally and socially that's wrong. So
yeah, there's an inequality somewhere, isn't there? When you see
absolutely.
really like gaping figures like that, you know that there is some inequality, and it's just trying to find out what it is and how to help. But I mean, I was just going to say, like, what I mean, do you notice there's sort of more like what are the most common struggles that men seem to face with their mental health? Is there like a particular theme of issues that you find they have?
A lot of it's that sort of loss of identity. I mean, we have quite a few guys who have with everyone comes in with different reasons, really. So some of the guys wouldn't consider they've got any sort of mental health issues, and it's kind of just and by all intents and purposes, they haven't. I think that's a lot of the thing for myself. There were probably things that were happening in my past that I wouldn't even have thought of as mental health. I just thought that's kind of what it is. But it's not until you look back and you think, actually, that was actually a mental health issue. It's kind of things going on that
Mm,
we just kind of think, well, it's just something that's going on and I deal with it. But and so a lot of it is just that general understanding of what mental health is, and actually having that time to being able to work on it and think about it. But I'd say, yeah, in terms of what guys are coming with, there's and with PTSD, that's quite a common thing. I actually speak quite a lot with guys who are not on our program from other places, who are ex-servicemen,
yeah.
uh, various other issues as well. People have just had other various traumas. But yeah, I'd say there's all different areas of it. To be honest, it's not any one general thing. I think the biggest thing is that there is that willingness to understand that there is a health issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like they don't actually, I suppose it's having like that permission, maybe, to actually say that actually this horrible thing happened and I've never been okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you are allowed to not be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
And trauma, that's that big thing, isn't it? Trauma can be something major, it can be something quite small, and from everyone looking from the outside, it's how we respond to it. And that's the big thing. So you can never look at someone and go, well, and some people will think, well, I've not been in a major traumatic event, therefore I should be fine. But actually, it can be, other things that happen in smaller things in childhood that don't seem major, but your response to it becomes a trauma as a result. And it's just having the opportunity to speak about it could stop that having that effect on your life. So,
yeah, like school was
yeah, yeah,
alone was pretty
absolutely.
traumatizing for lots of people. Actually, it's just like I don't know many people who went to school and was like, yeah, it was great. I loved every minute of it. I was super popular. I was really clever. I fit in. I
Yeah,
never
I've never spoken to
humiliated
you about my
myself.
school days before, Shelley.
Yeah. just I just don't really know many people, and that's probably because I wasn't one of those people, so I'm not friends with those people.
Right, I don't know many people who liked high school and look back at it with much affection, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
quite telling, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's like this horrible, humiliating time that we don't really like to think about a lot, don't we? But actually, if you feel like that about it, then to an extent, you're a bit traumatized by
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can lead into, I've worked with clients before who have had something where they've been left out or something, but that's actually led the whole life from that component where they've lacked their own self-worth and they've had anxiety in certain massive anxiety in certain situations, huge panic attacks and all sorts of things that all came down to that moment basically, and because they never really had that, they sort of thought, I should just be getting on with it. It's just one of those things. It's kind of, they never had that chance to kind of exercise it and vent it and kind of understand the situation, that they, as a result, it's carried on for years and years until they eventually get the opportunity to speak about it and see what it's about. So I think,
Yeah, I think about some of the things I probably laughed about happening to some other people at school as well, and how I probably talked to friends, but can you remember that was hilarious?
yeah.
Or tell someone, but that's actually probably someone else's trauma.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being at school and we all had to do this play, and someone was dressed up as a Dalek, and during the play, they just fell off the front of the stage and landed in the lap of these parents sitting in the front row. And, we all thought it was hilarious that never let them forget about it, and I think they left the school about a year
Oh, bless them. Oh, God.
Yeah, and you see that they still
I
got
hope they
some
stayed in
nicknames.
character throughout the whole thing and just like the Dalek.
Yeah.
Help me!
But yeah, these are the more minor things that sometimes happen. But yeah, you can't really tell how that's going to affect someone,
No, absolutely.
because it is that actually how, if they didn't have much strength in how they felt at school, if they weren't very popular, if they didn't have many friends, then actually something silly like that is going to tie in with just a load of awful feelings, like about being bullied or humiliated. And yeah, but I didn't appreciate that at the time. I was
No.
just pleased it was someone else they were laughing at and not me.
Yeah, we all felt that way at that time, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, school does that.
Yeah.
So, are we talking about this enough? Do you think, Dan? I can see at the moment the government are asking for people to come forward and talk more about mental health, to advise them, to help them on their strategy for it, and it does seem to be more of a governmental focus. What that will lead to, if anything, who knows? But do you feel that it's a conversation that's being had enough at the moment?
I think it's certainly getting more awareness, isn't it? It's becoming bigger, and but we've actually got an event on at Saturday. The Brighton Hove Albion are starting, and I think Liverpool are starting to try and create this whole network of men's mental health groups. Hence why we've been invited, and there's lots of other groups in the area, so that they can send anyone that they see within their organisation that feels that they might need something. They know what's around, and they're trying to create basically a big index of all the groups that are around, so they can refer people to it, and everyone's kind of amalgamated, all connected, so everyone can refer people if they're in different areas, etc. So there's a lot more happening. That's definitely happening. Maybe it's because I'm in that field and I'm recognizing it more as well, and so it seems like there's a lot more, but there's certainly much more going on than there was even just a few years ago, I'd say. And I think the pandemic also had quite a big impact on that. I think people started to actually think about mental health a lot more, and things started to, as a general rule, and I think that's also pushed things along a little bit. And I think that the fact the statistic is there, it's being announced a lot more, being put out there, and it is shocking. So I think there is more being done. There can always be more, and it's what's right. That's the kind of thing. There's all different avenues. And it's trying to tackle it from all different fronts basically, and see what will be right for one person. One person, Word of Viking can be their worst thing in the world. For some guys, for other guys, it's the greatest thing in the world. It's just there's got to be all different things for different people, and seeing what works basically. So
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned football teams doing that, because I suppose again that brings us back a little bit to our tribes.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, the sports team, we feel very tribal. Actually, I see sports teams doing lots more things generally. So in rugby, a lot of teams now have their LGBTQ plus games.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so on. So we're seeing, I think, more and more in that. Maybe that's that power of getting people in your tribe to come together and support these things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know for a lot of guys that is the one place they can show emotion. It's kind of one of those things. A lot of people. I remember I've worked with a lot of guys who their values will be their football club. It will be right up there as their main thing. That might seem like a shallow value from the outside. I think, oh, your football club ahead of. But when you think about it, that's their place where, if they're constantly keeping everything in generally, where's the one place you can go and hug another man and shout and cry and do all these sorts of things? It's in around a football stadium. It's kind of that whole kind of tribal element, being in a situation with other like-minded people that are supporting the same thing as you, and that's the opportunity. So I think it's a great place to lead it, because it's where there's a great collection of men. It's one of the biggest pastimes in our society. So it's a great place if they can lead it. I think it will drive it all around the country and elsewhere as well.
Yeah, it's like a captive audience, really,
Yeah,
isn't it? Because you're not going to suddenly get a load of men going, oh, well, they keep going on about mental health, so I'm not going to football anymore. It's not going to
Well, it's strange you do get some of that with the LGBT stuff, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But it harks back to a conversation I had with a friend of mine who's a Crystal Palace fan. And I did ask him before one season kicked off, as a Crystal Palace fan, what are you actually excited about this year? I mean, you're not going to get promoted. You're not going to get promoted. You're in the Premiership. You're not getting relegated. You're probably not going to win a trophy. Obviously,
oh, you've been quite mean, aren't you, Jim?
Fool of me, this is. But no,
Yeah.
I was interested. But what do you get excited about? Therefore, start the season. It's probably going to be another mid-table season. What are you excited about? But what he said was, well, no, you're right. We probably won't. But it's good for my mental health.
Yeah, which is fascinating, eh? That's a really fascinating comment.
And that's the point we just go, well, that's absolute perfect answer, really, isn't it? Yeah. It's not about the winning, the losing, all that. It's a good place for me to go for my mental health. That's a powerful thing. And actually, I don't know whether you saw that in the video that Norwich City put out a couple of seasons ago, which gained a lot of traction around men's mental health.
Really powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a great one. So I'd like to see more of the sports teams get behind things like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, if I'm not into the whole Viking thing, if I'm not really an outside type of person, that's not my thing. What are some of the habits that you think are good, healthy ones that anyone could take up to help to improve mental health? Or indeed, are there any unhealthy ones you think they should avoid?
Well, I think things to take up. I mean, I think if you listen to anyone, it kind of starts. I don't know anyone that kind of starts to take a bit of an interest in their physical health first of all. Sometimes you're not ready to go into depth with everything that's gone on, all trauma and everything. But just making a start with your physical health, it's kind of just the fact that it releases the happy endorphins. I think Dr. Julie Smith, the psychotherapist, she said no amount of therapy or medication will make up for good sleep, exercise, and good nutrition. You listen to numerous people, it will always start. You look at oh God, I forgot his name. The guy that ran all through Africa from Worthing, Russ. I can't remember his name, but the guy that ran up, covered the whole of Africa. His all started from his mental health, him just starting to run, and those stories are so important where people just start to do something, get moving, start getting the body moving and releasing those happy endorphins. So the basics of just getting some steps in, starting to build things up on that front, getting little bits of exercise. I think that's a really, really positive place to start. And whether that for you is walking from your couch to your kitchen, if that's your first bit and that works, then great, and build it up gradually. I think at least you're doing something on that front. Aside that, we sort of promote cold showers, and gratitude is obviously a big thing. I think it's a really important, but when you're in that really dark place, it can be quite hard sometimes to think of that. But for me, that's the time to sort of try your very best, basically, to start to retrain the brain. The brain is a muscle. You have neuroplasticity. If you do the reps, you can change how things connect together, and you can make it to a position where actually you can start to think more positively simply by training it. So all those sort of basic things that we kind of know are good for us, but it's just doing them. That's kind of the big bit.
Yeah. Motivation is always such a challenge for people, isn't it? Because when you're at the lowest of the low, it is, and it is just trying to find that little tiny way in, or the tiny way out for them. If you're trying to help someone, you're trying to find the little path in and find a little way to pull them out on. And it can just be that really tiny thing, like actually trying to be awake during the day and not just awake at all night, and trying to get outside sometimes, because you're actually just shutting yourself away all the time, you can't sleep and things, but actually trying to just get out and go for even just a 5-minute walk in the morning, even if you then end up just crawling back into bed for the rest of the day, you still manage to do that tiny little thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just a little step in the right direction, and that will have a small improvement for you.
Yeah, 100%. I think anything that
Mm.
takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit as well, anything that kind of gets you that you succeed in. So one of the things we do, which isn't always popular, but we do cold showers and that sort of stuff. We kind of build everyone up. When people first start, it's just finishing with, 15 seconds, just something. If you start your day that way, it's something that you've achieved already, or if it's making your bed, if it's the most basic things, but just starting with those absolute basics.
Mm.
And then you get to that next level. If you can get outside and you can get sunlight and you can get used to the sort of equilibrium of being out in sunlight, then fantastic. And more importantly, if you can connect with someone, I think that's really important. If you can get out with someone and have a conversation, then you're really winning. I think you're kind of really getting to a good point of really helping, supporting yourself move to that next level.
Yeah, and that's just sort of practical advice, isn't it? It's practical help,
Yeah,
that doesn't cost anything.
no, absolutely.
It's but yeah, some people do find themselves in quite a difficult situation, and do just, even if they don't manage to stick to it for long, at least they did it for a little while, and
Yeah,
you think, well,
absolutely.
you did it for that little bit of time, so we can look at getting back to that. But I mean, I always find with some people, you've got to be realistic, haven't you, about what you can ask
Yeah,
them to. Sometimes you've got, if they're kind of drinking, smoking, doing lots of things, you're not going to tell them to give up all of those things immediately. And
no,
yeah,
you've got to meet people where they're at, haven't you? It's really
yeah,
important. Yeah,
because it's just, you're just asking for instant failure, I
yeah.
suppose, aren't you?
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. One of the things we do, I mean, alcohol is one of the things that is one of the part of the process. We don't expect everyone to give up, but we tend to have during the challenge. It's kind of 6 days. See if you can do 6 days without alcohol, and it's kind of for some of them that's monumental for some people, and it's to not be having alcohol every day, and the difference that makes in itself. A lot of people, that's the biggest change they can have for
Mm.
everyone, but for some people, that's their big thing. It's kind of just that natural thing. You come home, have a beer or wine, whatever it is, and it's kind of just becomes habit. It's a normal thing, but the after effect, you think it doesn't matter, but that the anxiety or you don't sleep as well, the knock on effect of even just the one drink, it's kind of has quite a big effect. So that in itself, if someone can be kept accountable or themselves find a way to just do that, to limit that, reduce that, even one
Mm.
night a week, or then that in itself is a really big positive thing. And these are all things I know we all know. We're kind of teaching each other to suck eggs, but that's kind of where our program comes in terms of actually having the accountability to do those basic things really, and kind of having a bit of a someone actually saying, have you done it, and actually being accountable to your team and everything else. And it kind of just makes you, when you feel a little bit more like you don't want to do it, you do it basically. Just it gives you a little bit more incentive to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think there's some really key points. I mean, certainly, I don't drink every day by any stretch. I go plenty of days without. If I do go out and have a few drinks, you're quite right. It normally takes me a couple of days to
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
equilibrium back. The first night you sleep the alcohol off, the second night I need to sleep the tiredness off.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
And also the existential dread.
Yeah, of course.
yes,
What did I
all
do?
that goes with it, which gets
You know,
harder the
you've
older
got
you
their
get,
old
as we
friends that
know.
they're not, they hate you now.
That whole horrible thing of what did I actually do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I care? Yeah. So there's that side of it. The other thing, I'm coming back to physical exercise. I mean, I certainly piled on quite a lot of weight last year. I've been getting enough this year, so I've been doing a lot of running, and it is undoubtedly, I find it at its most beneficial the days I really don't want to do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They're the ones that count, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the days you're up for, it's just easy. It's all, I'm not going to say it's effortless, but it's comparatively easy. But yeah, those days where you drag yourself out of bed and you didn't fancy it anyway, and it's not a nice day, or equally bad, it's a blazing hot day, um, and you push yourself through it. I'm not
Yeah,
going to say it feels good, but there is something mentally that yeah, absolutely feels so much better for doing it.
yeah. And especially when you've not wanting to do it and you've gone beyond that barrier and you've done it, and it's kind of that's even more special, isn't it? Yeah, you get the natural chemical and everything else that comes with it, all the benefits, but the fact that you've kept to your commitment and your promises, it's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I think so. That promise is also important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Um, I mean, this is a Shelley question, so I don't want to jump in too much on it, but can we talk about toxic masculinity?
Yeah.
What are your views on toxic masculinity?
In terms of, I know we spoke a bit about those things in terms of what an alpha male is and all that sort of thing, and it's kind of how it's used. And
Do you feel anyone who is really sort of bought in that to believe in that alpha male way of thinking, does that get in the way of happiness?
I think it depends what you classify as an alpha male. I mean, it does if it's the alpha male that's that kind of lone wolf treading on everyone to get where they want to be, and it's kind of that kind of, not want to name any names, but that sort of Andrew Tate type
Oh yeah, well,
ideology, that sort of that kind of thing. It's not my sort of cut. And for me, I think that if you're in that position and it's all about the show of what you've got and everything else, then that for me suggests that there's probably you're not 100% content with yourself in every other way. And so for me, that would suggest that there is a limit to your actual inner peace and your, I mean, happiness, we go in and out of happiness, and we have unhappiness. That's always going to be a cycle, but it's that finding that inner peace and belief in yourself and inner calm within yourself. For me, an alpha male is someone that, in my eyes, someone that lifts other people. It's kind of that person who goes out, lifts other people around, and has great achievements, does things, but does it with the benefit of lifting everyone around them rather than treading on others. And it does not about what they've got, it's what they've achieved with other people and what they've created and how they've made other people feel. For me, that's an alpha male. The people that I sort of respect in my life, they're the people that I radiate towards as the alpha males. And in that scenario, then I think you can be happy, basically.
I think that's quite a good way of looking at it. It's almost like, reclaiming the term alpha male.
Yeah.
And because it is something that's been just taken, hasn't it, and turned into this like toxic thing. But yeah, it's like, no, actually, like there's lots of men that want to claim the term back and actually repurpose it into something that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And there have always been natural alpha males, and there's different ways of doing it. Obviously, the animal kingdom might be more that they're physically dominant or whatever, or it may be, and they want to dominate people that way. But actually, an alpha male really is someone that can lead a tribe, as far as I'm concerned, can lead a troop, can lead a people, and can have people follow them for the right reasons, not because they've beaten them down to follow them, but because they actually want to follow them.
Yeah.
So whether they're whatever their background is, whether they're multi-billionaire or they're got no money, whether they're strong, not strong, it doesn't matter to me. If they can find a way to create a story. Have you ever read the book Sapiens, all about how humans differentiate from other animals? Have you read it?
Yes.
It's a fantastic book.
Not Bradwell?
I can't remember who wrote it. I think it's Johann Hari or something.
Yes, that's right, it is.
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't read this.
It's a fantastic book if you get a chance. Just
Yeah.
the evolution of Homo sapiens, and the difference basically is, he says, the way we have evolved compared to other tribes is because we can tell a story, basically, and it's who can create a story. So chimpanzees and other groups can go up to a certain number of people where they can follow someone, and someone can be dominant physically and kind of get them to follow. But we can have millions of people follow an ideology because we have someone that can tell that story at the start that has everyone believe in something that could be better and that everyone can improve a situation. So for me, that's an alpha male, someone that can create people to follow because the ideology resonates with everyone. Everyone is pulled together for the same reason, and they can all work together towards a greater good, what they see as a greater good. So I think it's a really, really interesting book, and it is what differentiates us. And that for me is an alpha male.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm now sort of quite interested in repurposing the term alpha male. I feel like, yeah, that's because it would really it would annoy certain people as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, true. Yeah. It's a great thing.
I'm saying we should do it out of spite.
No.
Obviously for good reasons.
Can you just try and do one thing that isn't out of spite, please?
I'm sorry. But anyway, I was actually just sort of going, sorry, as the woman, I was going to actually try and ask you something from a female perspective with living with men, and this isn't going to be spiteful, I promise, or resentful or anything. So I just wanted to just ask really about sort of dealing with some difficult situations as a woman, because I mean, I've been in a couple of relationships through my life with men who I would say weren't really in charge of their well-being at all.
Yeah.
And it was more like I was kind of expected to be responsible for their well-being, and I sort of almost ended up in this kind of like parental role with them rather than so much as being a partner. And it would be things like, you know, and I know I've got other friends and people I know who experience this with their partners and husbands, of things like, you know, just like they come home after having a bad day of work and they're just not talking to you, and they, you know, they're withholding affection, they're sulking with you, like their bad day at work was your fault somehow. And you know, that's sort of, it just seems like, you know, they've got no coping strategy and somehow it becomes your fault. And I suppose it would just be, you know, from like your point of view as someone who works with men, it's just, you know, do you have any advice really for like women, or any partners really, it doesn't necessarily have to be women, you know, anyone who's perhaps living with a man who they have those difficulties with?
Yeah. I mean, I also run a female program. So there's a recent evolution of that where we've got a program called Freya's
Oh,
Calling, which is
oh,
which is got 30 ladies. It's kind of so
yeah,
I do see both aspects. That's the good thing.
yeah.
So both sides of things. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a really quite a common problem. Is that a lot of
Mm,
the big issue for men is and that's kind of what a lot of partners found after men had come through the program, was that was one of the things they spoke about a lot, was that their communication was so much better because the men had found a way to suddenly, it was easier to be more open. They suddenly started to learn to be able to talk, etc., and take it that way. I think from the female perspective, it's kind of that thing of it's not all right. Basically, it's about, you know, if you
mm,
value yourself, that's not all right. It's not your fault. It's kind of creating boundaries and saying, I don't feel that you're. I'm sure you've done lots of these sorts of things, but I don't feel that that's not my role. I understand that you're upset and there's the things, but you can come and talk to me when you're sort of respecting me. But from the male perspective, I think it's that whole thing, and I'll hear the same thing from the men. They'll say they've had a tough day, they've come through the house, and then their partner wants to talk to them as they do, but they kind of almost need to regulate a little bit, come back and take a time. I mean, my dad used to always come in from work when I was young, before they broke up, my parents, but when they were young, he would come in and he would always have this like routine where he'd take his sit, and it was kind of a moment just to kind of regulate a little bit, regulate
mm.
his busy day, had come from the city, regulate everything, and then he was kind of ready to face everything, if that makes sense, and kind of, and then be from there, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. And I guess that's the kind of, if a man's not willing to do that, not willing to change, then it's a difficult scenario, because it's hard to change that. The thing that changed it for me, I mean, my wife's Swedish and she's very direct. The Scandinavians don't kind of mince their words too much, which is
yeah.
partly
You
why I love her.
you really had to sort yourself out,
Yeah,
didn't you?
exactly.
Yeah.
Tell me quite straight, and
Yeah.
but I used to find things I would find when I was frustrated in myself, if I was busy and I felt like things were getting overwhelming, and my wife, she might say something and I'd fly off the handle unnecessarily about things, and it was mainly because I didn't know how to convey it in the past. You know, I hope I'm a much better now in terms of being able to understand my emotions and what's going on. But a big thing for me was kind of reframing it as well. So when there's a great story in another book I read where a guy said that he'd done a deal at work, and they'd created this deal that meant that they earned a million pounds, and then he was ecstatic. He messaged his partner and said, "Oh, I've just done a deal. It's worth £1 million." And then he went and had a drink with the guys, and then at work, and then he got home and he was come through the front door, really happy, really boyish, and said, "Right, did you get my message? Did you get my message?" And his partner said, "Yeah, it was amazing, fantastic." You know, he said, "Yeah, $1 million deal we're made." He said, "Yeah, it's amazing. Did you get the milk?" And he was like, "No, I didn't. I didn't get the milk. I've just made $1 million." I said, "Oh, I asked you to get the milk." Now, it's one of those things, and my wife would do that a lot with things.
Mm,
It sounds, and there's different ways. When you're a man, you look at it from one perspective and you think, "Oh, they're not supporting me. They don't understand all these things I'm going for." The way it's reframed and in this book, and how I've always reframed it since, is that, and I really believe in it, is that your partner's just challenging you. She's kind of saying, "Okay, Don't get carried away. Remember what our values are. Remember what's most important.
Mm,
Are we important together? Is our family unit an important thing? Let's make sure we know what our priorities are here. I'm just going to challenge you to be better and make sure that you're clear on where it is. And
mm,
ever since I've had that in my head, now whether it's true or not, I don't know. But even just reframing it means it's when that happens, I'm like, okay, that's great. She's just challenging me to be better, and as a result, I accept it, and it's like, yeah, you're right. I should have got the milk. Okay,
yeah,
I'll go and get that now, and let's go for dinner and spend $1 million. Well, I wish I had
yeah,
a
yeah,
$1 million. That'd be nice, but but yeah, from the male perspective, I think that's a really bit to reframe that and realise that. But the biggest bit is for men to realise that they have to have that being able to learn to speak about their emotions is really really powerful.
mm,
From the female side, you can't accept that. There has to be boundaries put in place, doesn't it? It has to be clear that if you're not respecting me, you're not speaking to me that way, then without attacking, so without saying you're not doing this, you're not attacking me, I think it's always best coming from, I feel that this, talk about yourself, and it's not an attack.
mm,
I don't feel this is fair. I understand you've had a bad day, but I don't deserve to have this taken out on me. And so
yeah,
if you want to go and have a few minutes, go and do what you need to do, and then when you're ready to talk to me, and we can have a nice conversation. And if you want me to talk about what's going on today, we can have a talk. That's great.
yeah,
I know it won't
yeah,
always work, and if a man won't do that, then and he won't do it
mm,
regularly, then it becomes it's a that's just scenario we're in. It's kind of a difficult situation. It's maybe a bit of a
yeah. And I guess I mean, it works both ways, doesn't it, as well? Like you say, like the boundary thing. And I think there's so many of us, like men or women, we're not very good at setting boundaries, and we
yeah,
haven't really
absolutely,
been taught how to set boundaries in when we're younger, have we? And
no, absolutely,
so yeah, I think so, but it's not really too late to learn,
no, 100%.
definitely.
And it's not being cold to set boundaries. It's being really
No,
clear. I mean, I think Brenny Brown always says it's clear to be kind. You always got to be clear to be kind. If it's clear, then no one can deviate away from it. No one can feel it's unfair. It's like, well, this is the barrier. This is where we've set our boundaries. This is where things are. And if you're
yeah,
clear about that, then if someone oversteps it, they should know they've overstepped it, and you've got every right to say you've overstepped the boundary.
yeah. And they don't actually have to like it or agree with you or stay or anything, do
No,
they?
no,
You can't fix it all. So
no, absolutely. And it's not
yeah,
your
yeah.
your your responsibility to take on someone else's emotional baggage at the end
Mm,
of the day. You do everything you can. If you can't change it, then you have to look after yourself as well. So at
mm,
the end of the day,
I was
yeah,
said, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, that being nice and being kind are not always the same thing.
no, absolutely, no,
Uh,
absolutely.
so, sometimes we have to do something that, it may not be particularly nice, but it's kind.
Yeah. You look at with children, with my kids, it's kind of things there's I'd want to do everything for them if I could, it's kind of that whole, but I have to sit there and go, no, you can do that. You can do it. It's kind of, and even though they go, no, can't you? But if I do it for them all the time, they'll never learn. It's kind of one of those things, and it seems quite cruel. And sometimes even I feel a bit cruel. Maybe I'm being a bit cruel, but it's
well, kids are
maybe I'm
so
not.
good at making you feel guilty, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're super manipulative.
It's a woman who lives with 3 cats, probably the most manipulative
I
creatures
have one
on the
grown-up child.
planet.
It is that cruel to be kind sometimes, isn't it? They've got to put it in there.
Yes, but I think, setting those boundaries, it may not be nice, but yeah, it is a kind thing to do, ultimately.
Definitely. And if people don't know, sometimes the worst bit, isn't it, when you're in that sort of grey, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? If the man doesn't know, if he's not really told, and likewise for the woman, she doesn't know, and the man's not telling her what's going on, and you're not very clear about what you need and what that is. I mean, it's communication. It all comes down to communication at the end of the day. Everything's about communication. If you communicate well, then those boundaries can be set, and everyone can know where everyone is, and everyone can find a happy place within that. If the communication's not there, then and it may be just one-sided, and it usually probably is that one person just won't communicate. But that's the struggle you have, and you have to weigh it up. But yeah, communication
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
yeah. It's to do with them and it's not you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that was what
No.
happened. We asked you all to talk about men's mental health, but actually you mentioned the women's group you do as well. Tell us a bit more
Yeah.
about that place.
Yeah, so it's done on a very similar similar way to the men's without elements of it, basically. So it's a group. It's still about the habits, daily habits. There's still that they take, and lots of hiking, lots of challenges still. So after each journey that we go on, there's a challenge at the end of it, a physical challenge, saunas, all that sort of stuff. But basically, it's to create a network of women. Basically, I think just to have women uplifting women. I think it's as important. I think it's the big thing that sometimes have a man's program and people think, well, it must be it's men versus women, and it's kind of this. That's absolutely not. We all need each other, and
Yeah.
it's really important. So whatever
It's-
can benefit everyone, it's we all need each other, basically. So the more we can do.
Yeah, I went to a meditation group that was just for women before I moved away from Norwich, and it was so lovely.
Yeah.
It was just, but it was made of within the first session, we are all sat down on the floor in this circle. I think we only got about, we went around sort of telling, just say who your name, who you are, and what's brought you here today. I think we only got into the third person before someone had burst into tears, because it was just suddenly like it felt so safe and so welcoming in the room.
Yeah.
That it was just, they probably weren't even 100% sure why they were there, but it was just like they actually had to sit themselves down in that room, suddenly realize what a nice, kind atmosphere it was, and then it all just came out and they're just crying, and and it was just and it was, I suppose it's weird that I'm thinking how nice it was that someone cried, but they're just in a room full of strangers just crying, and I think that's how effective those groups can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also that the big, from both sides, actually, the men and the women, the big thing that most of the men say and the women say, the biggest impact is realizing that they're not alone. They think that what they're going through in life is kind of that there's something wrong with them, or their life's chaotic, and so they think, well, God, I must be doing something wrong, and I must be. And then you hear 29 other women saying something similar, maybe at different stages of life, but still the same sort of stuff. And it's kind of, okay, maybe, this is life. And then it's kind of that support network that comes from that as a result, thinking, it's not just me doing things wrong. Actually, everyone's got their stuff going. And the people that look like they're really solid and got everything, when you hear them talk and open up and say, actually, I've got this going on, and life behind the scenes is far more of a struggle than it looks like. From the front window and from everyone else looking in, it's really powerful. And the men, it's exactly the same. I think all the guys think, in many ways, more for the men because they don't open up so much, so they kind of keep everything inwards. And so when you hear other guys saying, "Oh, there's stress of this is going on, I've got this," it suddenly makes it, oh, okay. But it's not wrong with me. It's not that I'm failing. It's actually, this is life, and it's kind of,
actually it's really hard. It's just being an adult, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That's part of the beauty of it as well. It's overcoming challenges is what life is, isn't it? That's what makes it exciting.
So, definitely.
But no, and you're not the only one. That's a big factor.
So we've talked about having a men's group and a women's group. Do you see a benefit and value in mixed groups as well?
Yeah, we had one sort of session where I definitely think would be benefit, and I did actually run a challenge as a prequel to the female program just to kind of see what it'd be like. And so it's just a 28-day challenge. It was all done distance based, but a lot of the stuff we do, it connects very well anyway, because we have people do little videos and things like that as well, just to kind of, like you said, Shelley, it's kind of that whole the first video we always have people say, why are you here? Just do us a little video as to why. It's quite raw, and some people will be very, and it's daunting sometimes, but it's that sort of open vulnerability that comes from just saying why you're here. And some people will be very quick, I'm here because I just want to lose weight, or whatever it might be. But then, or it might be whatever else, but then other people will go more in depth. And it worked really well actually with the men and the women. For some of the men didn't like it and some of the women didn't like it, but the vast majority really appreciated hearing it from the other side. So it's kind of, I think there is definite benefits of some amalgamation in that front as well. I think, like everything, it's good to have your own, if you're in a relationship, I think it's good to have your own life as one partner and another person has their own life as a partner, but the amalgamation of it is great as well. I think there's something in the middle as well, absolutely, that can benefit everyone.
Yeah, I think it's a good direction to sometimes head towards, because if relationships has sometimes been people's problems, it can be quite good actually to get, like, say, some men or some women into a situation where they can suddenly feel safe or comfortable with each other, and that they can actually manage their boundaries
Yeah.
and feel like they can be themselves in front of each other. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and back to the why videos at the start. I mean, that's some of the most powerful bits. I think, like you said, it is such a powerful thing. And I think the first time we did it was actually an accident. It was kind of one of those things we were going to do a call and we couldn't make it. So we said, all right, we'll get the guys to do a video just to tell us why they're here. It was right at the start of a tour. And it starts off one of the guys going and he's very real man's man. He's kind of, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to lose weight and, I just want to get a bit fitter. And that's sort of one of the first messages. And then other guys started to put their messages on, and some of them were much more open straight away. So much more, I'm here because I've struggled with this. And it was really powerful because then the first guy came back and done another video, said, I put that out, but that's not really the truth. This is why I'm really here. And when that happens, it's kind of, you see beyond the exterior, beyond the masks, and you kind of see right into that person, who they are, and that's why it forms a very quick closeness. Like you said, you form bonds that with people you've never met before, maybe, but very quickly you feel like you know them, like you've known them for 20 years, because you can see right into that depth. So it's a really powerful process, definitely.
Do you ever feel pleased when you get someone crying? Like you're like, yes. Oh yeah, with this breakthrough. Oh, they're bawling their eyes out.
Well, it definitely means they've got some depth.
Do you like making people cry, Dan?
Well, I'm a Viking. That's what we do.
Everyone else fails, just finish them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it definitely means you get a bit more depth. That's a good sign that things that people are feeling comfortable. I think that's a good sign for it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just as a sidebar, I suppose, from today. Just as you were coming on and joining us today, Dan, Shelley was starting to tell me about generally what we do on Everything's Fine Probably is we exchange a few good news stories. We've not really gone looking this week because we knew we were going to spend most of the slot looking for you, talking to you. But Shelley, Shelley had this fun habit when she first started of maybe finding a topic before she found the story and saying, yes, I'm going to talk about this. And then when it came to it, there wasn't really anything to talk about. Lamb news was
it was Easter.
Easter, she said, I'm going to talk about lamb news. I was intrigued. I went online. I couldn't find any lamb news anywhere. Well, apart from the price of lamb. And I thought, well, it can't be that.
It's horrible about lambs, poor lambs.
What she found. And so we went straight to lamb news only to discover there wasn't any. I believe you've got something similar for us this week, Shelley, around
Father's Day. So it turns out that, like, if you're trying, because I thought I'm going to try and find some good news about men for men. Turns out that there isn't really any good news about men. Apart from Men's Mental Health Week, which is deliberately held in the week before Father's Day. So it all just seemed like a really good link up to me. But all I managed to find was just certain little events and bits and bobs that might be going on. If you want to take your dad out and spoil your dad on Father's Day, or the man who is as good as your dad anyway. So Google didn't really throw up a lot. They're keeping it very secret, all the Father's Day events. But Raby Castle, which I think I don't really know even where that is. I wasn't sure if it was Raby or rabies. I wasn't.
Well, I hope it's not Rabies Castle. Doesn't sound like a huge amount of fun.
Can I take you to Rabies Castle, Dad? Well, they've got a Father's Fun Day on. And it's free entry for dads, just for dads, so they get to feel super special. And there's tractor rides and a barbecue.
Nice.
This isn't it. I have found other things, don't worry. I'm just building up to the other things that are going on at the moment. Okay. So Lego have got a free Father's Day make and take thing. So basically, if you go in like on Father's Day, you can pick up this free Lego model. I'm not sure if it's in touch. I don't know if you can see really clear. I don't know if you can see
Is that
what it is.
is it a ping pong bat?
Yeah, it's just basically a table tennis bat with a ping
Yeah.
pong ball that you can build with your dad on Father's Day.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Dads
when,
are so lucky, aren't they? I mean, dads really must be feeling quite spoiled with all of this. So there is a Father's Day fair at
it's at
Hambledon.
moments at this, Shelley, I have to say, I'm glad I'm not paying you to do this.
We're not getting paid. Well, I was kind of holding out for this. It's really expensive where I live now.
Then you need to join a more successful podcast.
Yeah. It's really posh here, actually. Me and my sister, we were at the
Will you
pub.
stop showing off about your
No, I've
podcast?
just got to say something funny my sister overheard. This is how posh the people are. There was these people sitting on the table behind us. I'd gone to the bar, and then one of them just went to the other one. Oh, have you spoken to Jeremy Beremy recently? That can't be a real person. Anyway, it was. This sounds like actually quite a posh thing to do. At Hambledon Vineyard, which is the birthplace of English wine, you can go for an unforgettable Father's Day event where they will be having lawn games, face painting. Dads just love face painting. And delicious food vendors, but they will also have wine tastings. And when you arrive, you do actually get a free glass of fizz.
Oh, well, it could be a forgettable event then.
Yeah, it could be a forgettable one.
Certainly hazy.
Yeah.
What was the other really? There was one that actually sounded quite good that I think actually I would go to.
Are you a father?
Not as far as I know.
Well,
Nebworth Father's Day medieval jousting.
Ah, there we go.
there you go. You've got Dan's attention now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the Vikings now.
That's
Did Vikings joust?
No, they didn't. We can go raiding.
Yeah.
no, that was a gentleman's sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's at Nebworth House in Stevenage. They have got a medieval spectacular on.
Nice.
So, and I think they're selling mead. They'll have mead. That's a Viking thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I know my dad will just really just want to go to the pub, preferably without anyone else. Do you know what? He wants to just be left alone.
There are different ways to celebrate fatherhood.
Yeah.
Can I add an event in there as well on the 14th at the Amex? Dad La Soul, we've got a big event going on, so that we're there with a store and stuff as well, and there's lots of Nerf guns and laser and all stuff going on in the fan zone at Brighton Hove Albion Stadium in the Amex. So it's a big dads and kids event the day in advance of Father's Day, so on the 14th from 10 till 1 o'clock. If anyone's in the Brighton area and wants to make that way, that'd be.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah,
That actually
cool.
sounds good. Nerf guns and things.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah, a bit of violence.
Yeah, exactly. It could be casual violence.
That's
What can
kind
go
of
wrong?
like saying, dads can go and just be kids, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Better way to celebrate Father's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot your child repeatedly with a Nerf gun.
Yeah. How do you like it now?
Standing over their weeping body, empty.
Yeah. What are you all doing for Father's Day then?
Well, I think that seems to bring us to a natural sort of end. Thank you so much for coming along. So people can
thanks so
find
much
out
for having
more at, I believe it's way-of-the-viking.com.
That's it. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the all in one load, so we've got hyphens between, but Hopefully everyone can remember it.
Absolutely. Go on, check it out. There's some wonderful stuff going on, and there's our sort of ultimate good news story for Men's Mental Health Week is while the stats are horrific, they are improving. It's the light we can shine on the whole thing. And there are fabulous people out there like Dan doing the bit and offering support and helping. So whether you feel like you're struggling with your mental health, whether you don't, always worth just taking the time to take care of it.
Absolutely.
We will be back next week with a normal episode of us just talking nonsense. Dan, thank you ever so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
And Shelley, thank you for your time. And
I'm apparently not getting paid for.
I think you're lucky to keep being invited back, quite frankly. Quality reporting. May you be well. See you next week. In the meantime, if anybody's listening, thank you for your time. Bye for now.